It has been a wild and crazy journey for the Miami Heat in the 2023 NBA playoffs. They start off this postseason as a 7 seed. After the play-in tournament, they go 1-1, which made them the 8th seed. And then the first round of the NBA playoffs, they're facing the Milwaukee Bucks. Tyler Hero goes down with a broken hand, and no one gave the Miami Heat a chance of winning that series. Everyone was going with the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Miami Heat ended up dominating that series. Jimmy Butler was spectacular, and they get I believe the Milwaukee Bucks were the favorites to win the championship going into the playoffs. They got rid of those guys in 5 games, a dominating performance. And then we get to round 2 where they face the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat. Once again, we're being doubted, and I get it. The New York Knicks was a much better team than I expected because they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I thought were really good, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and New York was able to beat them in 5 games. So going into that series, I wouldn't say everyone, but majority of the basketball world was leaning with the New York Knicks to beat the Miami Heat. They dominate that series. They go up 3-1 at one point, and then they finish the job in Game 6. And we get to the third round of the playoffs, the Eastern Conference Finals, a great rematch between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. I think you guys know where I'm going here. No one gave the Miami Heat a shot at winning that series against the Boston Celtics. They come out early and they really beat up the Boston Celtics, bringing them down 3-0. And the Boston Celtics, they ended up winning 3 straight games themselves. And I think those 3 straight games was just off pride because it was very embarrassing, especially when you hear all that noise about how they should be able to beat the Miami Heat so easily, and they come out and they go up 3-0, and eventually the Miami Heat gets the job done in Game 7. So I think the Miami Heat in all three of their Eastern Conference playoff series, they were very dominant. And we get to this series and we're hearing the same noise once again that the Denver Nuggets, and granted, the Denver Nuggets have been spectacular in the playoffs so far, and their offense has been incredible. But everyone at the entire basketball world said that this series is going to be so boring because the Miami Heat does not stand a chance, and it got even worse after Game 1. After Game 1, everyone is saying that this is going to be a sweep. It's going to be over in 5. When I say everyone, I'm talking about people on Twitter, watching the talk shows, ESPN, Fox, everyone saying that this series is over. And then we get to Game 2, and the Miami Heat, they reminded everyone that you should not doubt this basketball club. Okay, now that we've established that you cannot doubt this Miami Heat team, and they've proven time and time again that they're a high quality basketball team because they continue to beat and dominate other high quality basketball teams, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. They are 2 of the top 3 teams in the NBA, but nonetheless, we can get into these first 2 games, and I think Game 2 is one of the most important games in a playoff series because this is where we see head coaches have their chess match, and this is when we see all the adjustments. And after watching Game 1, I think everybody could have seen this coming, that the Miami Heat, they were going to insert Kevin Love back into the starting lineup. I don't even believe he played a single minute in Game 1, but that just made the most sense. In the first quarter of Game 1, we saw Aaron Gordon come out, and he really set the tone, attacking those smaller players that they were putting on him. Gabe Vincent, whenever he was on Aaron Gordon, he was able to get an easy dunk or an easy layup. So we seen the first counter. Erik Spoelstra, he comes out and he inserts Kevin Love into the starting lineup. And Aaron Gordon, the Denver Nuggets doesn't really run any plays for him. So if you can get a big body on him and make him have to work in that dunker spot, he's not as effective as he is when he has a guy like Gabe Vincent on him, where he could just use his brute strength and athleticism. So inserting another big body in the lineup, I thought that was a really great job by Erik Spoelstra. And Aaron Gordon, he only took 7 shots last night, and he didn't have the type of game that he had in Game 1. So I thought putting Kevin Love in the starting lineup was a great job by Erik Spoelstra. And K Love, he played hard, he hit some big time shots, he hit some big time rebounds, and he made a lot of plays being aggressive on his outlet passes. So I thought bringing him into the game, and he doesn't play very high minutes, but the minutes that he's out there, they are quality minutes. So great job by Erik Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra, bringing him back into the starting lineup. So that adjustment by Coach Eric Spoelstra, that's the one that really stood out to me, and I think it really made a huge difference, because when you got Aaron Gordon, when you got him dunking the ball like that and getting those layups where it just looks like he's just overwhelming you, it really gets the crowd into it. So with inserting Kevin Love, where he can't just impose his physical will and athleticism on him, I think that it did a great job for the Miami Heat, and it kind of allowed them to play a more of a relaxed basketball game. And also, I just think the Miami Heat, when you look at game 1 and game 2, I just think they were a lot better offensively, and that's what I took away from game 1. A lot of people felt like the Miami Heat were just an inferior team to the Denver Nuggets, but I feel like a lot of things just didn't happen for the Miami Heat. For example, they didn't get to the free throw line. They only shot 2 free throws, and we all know that's unacceptable in the playoff game. You got to get to the line, and also a lot of shots didn't fall for them. Now they did hit 13 threes in game 1, which is decent. We saw the Denver Nuggets beat the Heat in game 1 just by making 8 threes, but they weren't very efficient from the 3-point line in game 1 versus game 2, where they come out and they knock down 17 threes on 49% shooting. So I think that's 17 out of 35 out of 36, which is fantastic. And I just love the way that the Miami Heat, that their offense is operating right now. And I feel like it's so many things. This video might be long, but it's so many things to talk about what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. And I want to start off with giving my props to Max Strus, because I feel like what he did in game 2 is so impressive, because in game 1 we saw him come out and I believe he went 0 of 10 from the field and 0 of 9 from the 3-point line, and these first 2 games were on the road for him. So when something like that happens in the NBA Finals, 0 of 10, and the NBA Finals is just a different atmosphere, it's a different energy, all eyes are on you. When something like that happens, I feel like it could be very easily to fall out of it mentally, and you got to give props to his teammates, and you got to give props to the coaching staff for keeping him in the starting lineup, because we see the Miami Heat, they switch so often with guys like Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus. We could have easily saw Coach Eric Spoelstra put Duncan Robinson into the starting lineup, but he stuck with his guy. And then Max Strus, he comes out and he has a big time first quarter. I believe he knocked down 3 or 4 threes, and his teammates are still passing him the ball and trusting him to knock down those 3-point shots. So I thought that was a great sign from the Miami Heat. And then also the 2-man game that they're running, it's been really working out for them. I really love it when it's Gabe Vincent, or when it's Duncan Robinson, or when it's Max Strus, when they're running that 2-man game with Bam Adebayo. They're such elite shooters that you have to come out immediately, and when guys decide to come out on those guys, they instantly get it to Bam Adebayo on the short roll. And Bam is such an underrated basketball player, because he brings so many things to the table on the offensive side of the ball that I don't think gets talked about enough. And before we get into what I've been liking seeing from him on the court, I think we all knew that this was going to have to be a big series for Bam Adebayo, because his matchup is the best player on the opposing team and arguably the best player in all of the NBA. So each and every night, Bam is going to have to try to match Jokic's energy, and I think so far Bam has done a great job of doing that, and he's giving Jokic everything that he can give him on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. Game 1, he comes out and he drops 26 points and 13 rebounds. That's great if you're getting 26 points and 13 boards from Bam Adebayo. He took 25 shots. He went 13 of 25, and he didn't get to the free throw line, which is not terrible at all. I'm loving it. I love when Bam is aggressive. In game 2, he drops 21 points and 9 rebounds. He takes 14 shots. He goes 8 of 14 from the field, and he knocks down 5 free throws. Now, what I'm loving from Bam, and this is just showing me how talented of a basketball player that he is. When he catches that ball on the short roll, there's so many things that he can do. He has a mid-range game. He can dribble the basketball, and he's such an underrated passer. He throws some great passes on those backdoor cuts. They're right on point, and he puts them in a spot where only his teammates can get him. He's an excellent passer. passer. And from game 1, game 2, he made a little adjustment within himself. Game 1, we saw him taking a lot of mid-range jumpers on those short rolls. Jokic was basically daring him to take them, and that's Bam's game. He loves those shots. But I like in game 2, I felt like he was forcing the issue more. When he would catch the ball on those short rolls, he's either going straight up and he's forcing the issue, getting a finish, or he's getting fouled, or he's taking one power dribble, doing the same thing. So I thought Bam Adebayo, he's doing a great job doing a little bit of everything for his team on the offensive side of the ball, setting excellent screens, finishing around the rim, knocking down mid-range shots, and he's getting to the free throw line. So when you can get Bam to play with that type of energy, only great things are going to happen for the Miami Heat. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Miami Heat on the offensive side of the ball. I think they play with great ball movement. They do a lot of drives and a lot of kicks. And guys like Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Kyle Lowry, when Jimmy Butler or Bam has the ball in their hands, they don't just sit around and watch. They're constantly moving. So they've been well-oiled machine in the half court in game 2. So I think the Miami Heat, I think their offense, especially in the half court, was very solid in game 2. And I think a lot of things just went well for them in game 2 versus game 1. I didn't really see no change up in their schemes. And this video is getting pretty long already. I feel like there's still a lot more I want to talk about. And I try to keep the videos between 10 to 12 minutes. And I think right now we're around the 9-minute mark, so I'll try to condense it as much as possible. But another thing that I think has been impressive for the Miami Heat is that Jimmy Butler, first of all, I feel like the Heat have been fairly competitive in both games, and they did win game 2. But in both of these first games, Jimmy Butler, he hasn't had a great game yet, and I did think he was great down the stretch of the fourth quarter and of game 2, and I think he hit a big time 3. And I'm not saying if he doesn't hit that 3 that the Miami Heat would lose, but it would have been very dangerous because I believe when he knocked down that shot, the Denver Nuggets were on a run. But nonetheless, Jimmy Butler, he hasn't had a spectacular game yet, and the Heat still found a way to win on the road. And also with Caleb Martin, I'm hearing he's dealing with an illness. They said he's having migraines and he's getting the chills. So we saw how spectacular he was playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. So hopefully he can use these 2 nights to get well. He gets Monday night, Tuesday night off, and then they play again Wednesday night. So hopefully he can get healthy. And then another thing I want to talk about is the defense. I think last night the Miami Heat turned it into an East Coast game. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the East Coast and the West Coast, they play completely different. You go look at all the series in the Western Conference playoffs, very fast, very high scoring, and they're constantly going up and down, versus in the Eastern Conference, it's very slow, it's more controlled, and teams want to get each other in the half court and try to pick each other apart. So in game 1, I thought it was more of a West Coast game. We saw the Denver Nuggets, they continuously tried to get out and run, and the Miami Heat, I feel like in game 2, it was more controlled and it was more of a half-court game. And the Miami Heat, you don't want to face this team in the half-court, especially on if you're the offensive team. You don't want to face the Heat in the half-court because they're such a great half-court defensive team. And I just love what they're doing defensively. And what I love about them on the defensive side of the ball is that I think it's more of a team defense than it is an individual defense. And they have great individual defenders with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Caleb Martin. But when you look at everyone else, it's more of a team effort. Now, Kyle Lowry, he was a very solid defender, and he still is, but, he's 37 years old, so he's not the defender that he once was. And then you look at guys like Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent. All of these guys are willing defenders, but they don't have the physical makeup of some of the best defenders in the NBA. They don't have the wingspan like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. So I think it's really great how they all buy in on the defensive side of the ball. They all talk, they all willingly switch, and we don't really see no mistakes from them when it comes to communicating. And I think we're seeing great individual performances from guys like Jimmy Butler. For I would say about 90% of the game, he guarded Jamal Murray last night, and Murray was really non-existent up until down the stretch when the Denver Nuggets were trying to make their comeback. And then the same thing with Bam Adebayo, and we all know Nikola Jokic, he's gonna get his numbers, and he's gonna put up crazy stat lines. But Bam Adebayo is making him work for everything. And then the Miami Heat, they're just switching it up, man. They're stunning on certain possessions in the post. They're double teaming, they're fronting him, and then they're switching to the zone. And I love the zone when you're facing players like Nikola Jokic. He's one of the smartest players in NBA history. So you want to do as much as you can to make him hesitate and to make him think about his decisions, because he processed the game so quickly. So I think Eric Spoelstra and the Heat, they did a great job of that in game 2. But that's going to be it for this video. That's what I want to talk about with you guys today, is that people have to stop doubting this basketball team, because they are a high quality team, and I think this series is going to be very, very entertaining. But if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.